and Ryu replied with a smile on his face that they were moving to their new house today. At the same time, at some unknown location, Youngmin was punching and made a big hole in the wall, and then with a villainous smile. He said to himself that pumping all the points into strength was the right decision. Swinging his fist at the end wall again, he added to himself that he was even able to get a power room that doubled his strength. As he continued to strike the wall, he started to laugh maniacally, saying that now with his powerful fist, no one will be able to stop him, and veins started to foam in his hand as he clenched his fist, ready to go another round of punching the wall. Then the scene shifted, and we see Youngmin now in front of Ryu's door, slamming the door and shouting Ryu's name. When he didn't get an answer, he said first he thought Ryu died in the first round, but later he found his name was not in the list of the dead people, and Ryu was even ignoring all his calls. Then Youngmin's face became furious, thinking the way Ryu glared at him before the angel kidnapped him. He can never forget them, and he will only get satisfaction when he will beat him to death with his own hands. Then Youngmin started to slam Ryu's door continuously, saying if he is hiding inside, he will now come inside after breaking the door. However, a voice stopped Youngmin, and it was an old man standing on the stairs who turned to him and asked him what he was doing at that door. Youngmin asked the old man if he should mind his own business, since Youngmin is not slamming the old man's door. Hearing this, the old man, adjusting his glasses, replied that he was indeed the owner of the house, startling Youngmin. Then he asked Youngmin again if he had come to meet a friend. For a second he froze, not knowing what to say. He quickly adjusted himself to the situation, smiled, and said that he had indeed come to see his friend. Then he asked the old man if he could open the door for him. Youngmin added that he had suddenly lost contact with his friend, and now he didn't know how to get in touch with him. Hearing this, the old man was shocked. Then he told Youngmin that it was now an empty apartment as the student who lived there had moved out. Hearing this, Youngmin immediately asked the owner of the house if he knew when and where the student had moved to. But the old man replied that he had moved today, but he didn't know where he had moved to. Hearing the old man's answer, Youngmin was furious, and he clenched his fists in anger, wondering how he could have left without telling anyone. Then the scene shifts, and we see the duo arriving at the huge glass building, which was the size of a skyscraper. Wani exclaimed in surprise and admiration. Covering his eyes with his hand to keep the sun from shining, he said with shining eyes in amazement that the building was very tall. He was so innocent that he was even surprised that the door at the entrance was revolving. He didn't stop being amazed even when the female employee simply handed them entrance cards while his older brother confirmed their identities. Wani continued to be surprised that there was even a security guard here. Pushing himself up in the elevator to his room, he turned to Ryu and said admiringly that this place was really amazing. Stepping out of the elevator, they headed to their room. When they got to their room, Wani exclaimed again in surprise, wondering how big it was. His brother replied with a nonchalant face that it was about 330 square meters. Such a figure shocked his younger brother, as their previous apartment was dozens of times smaller. Looking at the apartment, Wani, still in disbelief that they were going to live here, asked, "Isn't it too big just for the two of them?" Ryu replied that they have a lot of money and that they should enjoy their life. Then Wani asked Ryu how much the rent had cost him, and Ryu said that it had cost about 22 million won a month, which is about $17,000 a month. The rent alone made his younger brother's head spin. He thought to himself that not so long ago, he was still concerned about the price of meat, which at that time seemed very expensive to him, and now they are spending so much just for rent. Following his older brother, who was still looking at the apartment they would be living in, Wani asked him if they could have chosen something cheaper. Hearing this, Ryu shook his head negatively.